Well, welcome to my re-edit of the video that I did probably about a year or so ago now. It must be. We're now in April 2021 and I visited the top of Beachy Head on the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Britain, and I've made one or two little written notes that you'll see from time to time on here regarding certain things discovered from history, particularly with regard to a 13-year-old girl, Hazel Hill, and her father, who might well between them have been responsible for us winning the Battle of Britain. An interesting thought, worthy of further research. There has since been a BBC programme about it, so something to have a look at. But anyway, we're up here on probably Britain's highest chalk sea cliff, Beachy Head, just under 600 feet high in old money, and very windy day. So I've had to edit out the worst of the wind, though I have left some bits in with the wind noise. So I hope it doesn't spoil the viewing for too many of you, but I really couldn't edit it out for those bits there. It's just far too difficult. I don't have the technical expertise to do that, unfortunately. So we're just having a brief look at the Rampion wind farm in the distance there. Very difficult in this wind to focus the camera, so apologies. And we're now going to take a walk. I'm going to follow what they call the Peace Path, which was opened some years ago. I think it was to do with the United Nations enterprise of some kind. Supposedly wheelchair accessible, but as you'll see as we walk round, I really have my doubts about that. We're just making our way down now past the Beachy Head pub. This has had a checkered history. It's burned down at least twice as far as I can remember. Hopefully when all this COVID is over, it has a reasonably successful future ahead of it. It's been in the past quite a nice place to come for a meal. You can sit out there and look out over the sea towards Brighton and that. Very nice indeed. I think I got a bit of a false start here. Went up on a pathway that looked as though it might be the beginning of the peace path, but as you'll see, a bit of a dead end, so back to square one and we carry on walking. But for those of you who are trig point enthusiasts, did you see the trig point up there? A number of them have or will feature in my videos because I will point them out to you as we go past. I know there are people who like to know where they are as places to visit. Here's the bit. Talk about deception. Get to the top of the bank and you find it goes nowhere. Oh well. But now we're coming towards the proper beginning of it. I think it's just down here you can see the beginning of the path coming into view. What's not in doubt this morning is that it's certainly a lovely sunny morning, even if it is freezing cold in the wind. Some lovely views all round, and we'll see some more of those in a moment as we get back up towards the cliff edge. Beltoot Lighthouse can just be seen perching down there on the edge of the cliff on the right, and we'll go and have a closer view at that a little bit later on. And here we are. Bit of land on the right as we go along the path here. This was where there once stood a building, and quite a history, because in the Second World War it had been used as a radar station, or the entrance to a radar station, most of which was actually built inside the cliffs here. After the war it became used by the Ministry of Defence and the Royal Navy for various surveillance purposes, shall we say, and when they finished with it back in the early 60s, Eastbourne Council took it over, because in those days it was a county borough council, it had its own police force and everything else, and Constable Harry Ward was the Downs Ranger policeman here, and this building was used as the stables. He kept his police force here until he retired, and after that it was used by the Coast Guards. They used to store cliff rescue equipment here, and eventually it fell out of use and was demolished, probably during the 1990s, I think, now when you look back. Access was kept to the stuff below ground by a kind of a hatch of some kind. Problem is, vandals kept getting in, and so much damage was done. In the end, what they did, they dropped a tree trunk down the hole and backfilled it with chalk and dumped a load of earth on the top, so without specialist equipment you'll never be able to get into it now. And we're looking over this dead piece of ground, as it were, towards where the Lloyd Signalman's cottage was built in 1877 to monitor the shipping in the Channel. Now, messages were sent to ships by various coloured flags after receiving some kind of message from London, and it passed to the Ministry of Defence in 1939 as part of the whole Beachy Head setup. And then, after they had no further use for it, it became the countryside centre until it was eventually burnt down. So 2 buildings missing from here now. And we're just continuing our walk here down towards another rather special memorial. Again, I have to say, I don't really think this path is very suitable for disabled people in wheelchairs. It's rather unnerving, some of the angles you have to walk at. But it certainly provides us with some lovely views, that's for sure. And the sun just beginning to shine on part to the head there, and well, look at that for a view. Stunning, isn't it? Just coming up to a point now where the path takes a dramatic turn to the right and suddenly drops. And you can see how anyone in a wheelchair would suddenly feel quite unnerved by this bit, as we suddenly have to drop quite a few feet rather quickly, and there's nothing much to stop us crashing through this fence and down the other side. Rather special memorial on this 80th anniversary of the Battle of Britain, paying tribute to the lads of Bomber Command. And I think it's quite poignant, the words at the bottom. Let us remember them. In this wind. But I think that's a very worthy tribute with the Lancaster bomber there. It's nice to see the sun, but there is a view over Eastbourne towards Hastings. Lovely cold scenes from there. And I might have to come over here and do this all over again one day when the wind not blowing so much. This wind takes your breath away. But my word, you can't say anything other than this is lovely, isn't it? There's just a sense of peace and tranquility here. Evidence of some movement. I do have to say, and I don't really want to be critical, but having had, unfortunately, my own personal experience of having to push my wife Lynn around in a wheelchair, this is not a particularly good path for it. I certainly applaud the intention, but I think it needs attention. Arriving. We're actually surrounded by the sea on 3 sides here. I would always say to the people on the town tours, if we ever noticed that we're surrounded by the sea on all 4 sides, then that was time to panic. Anyway, we have been now to the top of the highest chalk sea cliff in Britain, or rather I have on your behalf, and just taking a look round. There's a lorry down here now, and I'm pretty certain that that lorry is full of homing pigeons. There's a bloke looking around, and he'll let them out shortly, I guess. Anyway, for the 2002 season, I had the dubious honour of running the seafront bus service up here 6 days a week all to myself. That was a nice summer, that was. Terminated in a lay-by just a little down the road from there. Good grief. There's people up here running when it's only 20 to 6 in the morning. Look at that. I'm just listening to the sound of the bird life. I'll take the camera away from the runners. Just hear those sounds. somewhere way up there I think I hear a skylark. It's just a lovely morning. There, up on the top, is the Belltoot. When that was built, it's going to pan to the left, and I'm going to stop about there, because in the centre of the picture, as you see now, is where the edge of the cliff was when the lighthouse was built. And when it was originally built, it stood about there. And in foggy weather was no good at all. And then late 80s, 90s, the then owner, all television and around the world, the building was moved physically 77 foot back down the cliff to where it is now, and the foundations on which it stands are capable of making sure that it can be moved further down if necessary, because those cliffs are eroding at an alarming rate. The restoration of the actual lamp room right at the top was carried out by the BBC, who bought the lease to Belltoot in 1986 to film The Life and Loves of a She-Devil. And there was a Bond film made here as well, The Living Daylights I think it was. It's now quite a posh bed and breakfast, but you can see where the original roadway up to it was. That's now considered too dangerous for motor vehicles, so they built a new approach to it. And I don't know if you can just make out, difficult to see on film, but there's like a little track, traces of a track going up the hillside. That was what the Canadians used in the Second World War. They had these sort of cardboard cutout things of tanks going up the hillside for their target practice. And needless to say, there was a bit of damage done to the Belltoot during that time. So I'm sure if you go online and find out where to book, you will be able to stay at the Belltoot Lighthouse if you want. I say it was begun in 1828, and some of the funds used to build it provided by Squire known as Mad Jack Fuller, Mr. John Fuller, who was MP for this area. And I won't tell you any more about him now, because he is going to be the subject of a future video. Now, I am going to come just up here, and it's alright, I'm not close enough to the edge to be in any danger, but you'll see there is the current day lighthouse, and you'll see some of the erosion. See how those rocks are approaching the lighthouse in the distance there. There we are, built in 1902 to replace the Belltoot, I believe with Cornish granite. There we are. That is the iconic view people like the road over the Beachy Head lighthouse. And this is just about as far as I'm going to go. The yacht has come right the way around here. Outside is East Dean. There we go. And that is just outside borough of Eastbourne. So we really have come, I mean we're now, I think, some 9 miles from the harbour. We're still within the borough of Eastbourne, which don't sound much, but for a town on the south coast of England, that's quite a long stretch of waterfront. Biting cold wind. Now the sun's coming up. We're just beginning to get that first little bit of daytime warmth. Well, it hasn't exactly been the best quality video this morning, and unfortunately I think the breeze has got in the way a little bit, but I hope it hasn't spoilt your enjoyment too much, and that you've enjoyed this little walk around the top of the world, as it were. And I've now got to find some ideas for more videos. Like I say, Jack Fuller, yes, I'll be dealing with him at some time, and I do have some ideas in mind for other videos, but for now I think we'll call it a day. And I've taken you, not exactly in a logical order, but I've taken you all the way along the coastline of Eastbourne, from the harbour right the way up here to Burning Gap, as I say, some 9 miles. And I've told you a few bits and pieces about it, bits of history, interesting facts and figures, and as I say, I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next video when I can work out where I'm going. Bye bye for now.